Figures like Elon Musk have long called for regulation in the development of artificial intelligence, which they view as an existential risk to humanity. Now that the world has started to see the potential of AI through tools like ChatGPT, this position seems very reasonable. If we assume some rate of advancement in AI, there will come a point in the not-too-distant future when AI surpasses human intelligence in every way. At this point, AI will be able to innovate and improve itself faster than humans can develop it, making a runaway super-intelligent AI all but inevitable. Because this could be an existential risk to humanity, it may seem absolutely necessary to impose some sort of regulation on the development of AI. Effective accelerationism, also known as EAC, is a philosophical movement that advocates against this regulation. Instead, it posits that we should seek to accelerate AI development, as well as technological development more broadly, as rapidly as possible. It has gained attention recently after prominent Silicon Valley figures have expressed their support on X, aka Twitter. AI development, they believe, is the key to solving humanity's biggest issues, including climate change, disease, and poverty. After all, if human intelligence has managed to bring about the prosperity that we see today, imagine what we could do with the help of human-aligned superintelligence. Moreover, according to this philosophy, AI development is inevitable. While nuclear weapons were able to be at least partially contained, AI is fundamentally different than nuclear weapons in that it was relatively easy to prevent countries from obtaining and refining plutonium and uranium, but it is essentially impossible to prevent the use of computers to train and run AI. There are many open-source large language models that are almost as advanced as GPT-4, the AI model behind ChatGPT. This means that it is impossible to truly regulate AI without an unprecedented level of global government surveillance. If we assume that superintelligent AI is inevitable, the goal should be to maximize the probability of positive outcomes and minimize the probability of negative outcomes. The worst possible outcome in the short to medium-term future is that the most advanced AI will be in the hands of bad actors, those that seek to suppress freedom or cause havoc to gain power. Effective accelerationists argue that this is more likely if the US imposes burdensome regulation in the name of safety, because this slows innovation and would lead to regulatory capture, where the large, entrenched players, like OpenAI and Google, form a cozy relationship with government to prevent competition and preserve market share. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, has publicly called for a government agency to give licenses to AI companies. This would enable the US government to shape AI to promote its own interests, and would increase the risk of China or some rogue entity reaching artificial general intelligence, or AI that is at least as smart as humans in every way, first, because of slowed innovation in the US. The best possible outcome likely involves many competing AI companies and a healthy open-source community. AI is arguably the only tool that can combat malevolent AI, so it is important that there is not just one company or entity with superintelligent AI, in case leaders of that company or entity develop ill intentions. Effective accelerationism is based on the idea that prosperity derives from technocapital, or technological innovation fueled by capitalism. Effective accelerationists argue that humans collectively form what is called a technocapital meta-life form, the purpose of which is to constantly progress by expanding, consuming thermodynamic free energy, and increasing entropy. More generally, effective accelerationists are pro-free market capitalism and anti-government regulation, which they believe frequently leads to regulatory capture, bureaucracy, crony capitalism, and, most importantly, slower technological innovation. Effective accelerationism is a play on effective altruism, a movement that advocates for maximally reducing suffering primarily by earning as much as possible and donating to causes that save the most lives or reduce the most suffering per dollar. Sam Bankman-Fried, the founder of FTX, was a famous advocate of effective altruism, and he is a perfect example of taking this too far, breaking the law and potentially hurting many people in the name of the greater good. Instead, effective accelerationists argue that we can best serve humanity, reduce suffering, and lift people out of poverty by unleashing the free market and spending our time and money building and investing in transformative technologies like AI. In many ways, effective accelerationism is a response to the degrowth movement, which advocates for reduced consumption and production as a solution to environmental degradation and social challenges. For instance, instead of having fewer children, fewer cars, smaller houses, and less long-distance travel to address climate change, as degrowthers would suggest, effective accelerationists would let the free market continue to drive the cost of energy closer to zero through renewables, nuclear, and natural gas, but importantly, also focus on developing AI that could, for instance, help develop new solar cell and battery chemistries for cheaper electricity production and storage. Eventually, AI could even help humanity crack the decades-old problem of fusion energy. Also, instead of taxing companies to oblivion to slow the increase in the debt-to-GDP ratio, as degrowthers may suggest, effective accelerationists believe that we can use technology and innovation to grow our way out of the impending debt crisis. Effective accelerationism arguably has its roots in British philosopher Nick Land's theories of accelerationism, which are a lot more radical. While both forms agree that capitalism leads to accelerating and inevitable technological progress, Nick Land suggests that this will lead to the collapse of capitalism and the creation of a post-human world. Effective accelerationism is less extreme and not nearly as dark. In fact, Nick Land was part of the so-called Dark Enlightenment. Effective accelerationism rejects the notion that innovation leads to darkness and dystopia, and, perhaps because of this, has been more widely adopted. There are, of course, critiques of effective accelerationism. First, it is not clear why consuming free energy and increasing entropy are good things or should be made goals. Also, effective accelerationism and the so-called technocapital meta-life form don't have a real need for humans after bringing about the singularity, or the point when AI becomes more intelligent than humans and can improve itself at an exponential rate. Effective accelerationism is not able to guarantee that future sentient AI will not decide to wipe out humanity, however unlikely this future seems. Finally, on an intuitive level, effective accelerationism essentially promises a post-scarcity technological utopia, and history teaches us to be mistrustful of promised future utopias. In summary, effective accelerationism is a fundamentally optimistic philosophical movement that rejects doomism and degrowth, and instead suggests that accelerating technological progress, driven by free market capitalism, is the solution to many of humanity's problems.